Let's take a look at the nostalgic preparations. So let me just turn all the keys on to begin and play some notes. Basically, we are in sync mode of note length, and so we get a reverse piano note that begins when I release the notes and plays for the length of the note that I just played. So 1/1000, 1/1000, 1/1000, yeah, or 1/1000, 2/1000, 1/1000, 2/1000, yeah. So very basic functionality, reverses the piano note for the length of the note that you played it. That's for sync mode note length. If we put it in synchronic sync mode, then rather than holding for the length that I played the note, it will attempt to have the peak of the reverse piano note synchronize with the synchronic preparation. So let's set one going here for this low note here. So now if I come back to nostalgic, sync mode synchronic, and I play, so you hear that the length of the reverse note depends not on how long I play the note, but on where that note is relative to the next synchronic beat. Note another thing about it, that I have this sync target menu. That's so that I can synchronize this with a particular layer. Now, I didn't mention in the last tutorial that just with the direct preparations, you can have layers of synchronic preparations. So multiple different kinds of preparations on the different keys, or even on the same key. You can have one key with 2 or 3 different kind of synchronic preparations. But for nostalgic, when we are in synchronic mode, we want to make sure that we're addressing or we're paying attention to the right synchronic layer when we do the synchronization. Now, while we're in synchronic mode here, let me point out one other thing here. There's this parameter, we'll look at these middle parameters here. This one, beats to skip. Basically, you can tell the nostalgic preparation to skip as many beats as you like. At the moment now, it's skipping 0, so it'll try to sync at the next beat. But if I say skip 1 beat, check this out. It syncs at not the next beat, but the one after that, because it skipped 1. Let's skip 2. And so on. So that's the basics of the synchronic nostalgic sync mode. Let's go back. I'm actually going to turn this off, this synchronic pulse off, and let's go back to note length here, just for simplicity's purposes, and look at the rest of these here. So, well, first of all, we looked at beats to skip. Well, beats to skip is going to be meaningless when we're in note length mode, because there's no beats that we're tracking to. However, there's something that corresponds to that, at least in some ways, the length multiplier. So it's normally the same length that I played those notes at. If I set the length multiplier to 2, then it'll be twice as long. If I set it to 0.5, it'll be half as long. So that's a nice little feature that you can work with the note length sync mode. Okay, 2 other obvious things here. Transposition, we can say, let's transpose it down an octave, or up a half step, or down a quarter tone. All right, and also we can adjust the gain. So let's say we want it to be a quiet reverse that is twice as long. So it's more of a shadow than an actual really strong reverse sample. Let's go back to the default settings here, and we'll look at the last 2 features here. This is so that rather than always reaching sort of a harsh peak, the actual attack of the reverse piano sound, we can instead have it stop just short of that, or pretty far short of that, and then change directions again so that it's going forward to give a nice decay. So let's say we want to stop 100 milliseconds short of the attack of the piano and then reverse so that it goes forward 1 second. So we'll get this wave. If I make the offset here even greater, it'll be an even gentler peak. Or even greater here. Let's go back to actually really a short amount. So it really hits the peak, just off the peak. Or maybe we'll want a really long decay. Rings down for a long time, or perhaps just a short decay. So giving it a different kind of quality. Okay, one last thing in nostalgic, which I also didn't mention for synchronic, is that we can have the tunings of these preparations be set independently. So for instance, let's say I want to have the nostalgic notes be in a partial tuning or an overtone type tuning. And that'll contrast with the tuning of the main instrument. So let's listen to this dominant 7th chord. Listen to that 7th, how it changes in quality. It flattens because of that overtone 7th tuning. We can also change the fundamental individually. And these are all, of course, saved when you save a preset. And as I said, you can do that for each of the synchronic preparations and individually for each layer as well. You can have separate tunings. So that's it for this one.